Hey everybody, it's Bruce here with Traveling with Bruce. Welcome to my channel today. We have some cruise news from the Philippines and a few other places regarding the cruise lines. It's August the 29th, 2020, and news reports have been coming out the last little while about the increased number of COVID cases that are beginning to show in India, the Philippines, and other nations in Asia. And this could be a major problem for cruise lines. Looking at this photo here, this was taken about a month or so ago when 20 to 25 cruise ships at a time were in the Manila Bay in the Philippines trying to bring back Filipino crew members that were no longer needed by the cruise lines. Of course, the CDC has made it almost impossible to allow cruise lines to get their crew people back to their regular home countries, repatriate them. And so cruise lines have had to literally sail them back by the thousands after gathering up all the different nationality crew members and sail them home. So this kind of scene here, not quite so dramatic, but cruise ships have sailed back to Indonesia, the Philippines, India, to Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, China, and they have been returning crew. There have been a number of cruise lines who've taken crew back to Eastern Europe by way of Croatia and other ports in the Mediterranean as well. So this has been going on up until about a month or so ago. Most of these crew members are now back home. Some have been home for 2 or 3 months. Some have been home for a few weeks. They all had to go through the quarantine process on the return, and they're now back with their families. Now, here's the problem. We're talking about in the Philippines right now, 213,000 cases of the virus have been identified, 3,600 yesterday alone. There have been over 3,400 deaths and 94 deaths yesterday. So the numbers in the Philippines are getting scary. We're talking now in excess of 110,000 cases a month that are showing, and that number is accelerating just in the Philippines. Of the 2.35 million people that have been tested for the virus in the Philippines, 10.6% are coming back with a positive rate. Compare that to, say, New York State. The last I heard, it was less than 1%. So this is really getting out of hand, and the country is doing a series of lockdowns in various cities. Manila has been on a lockdown. It's scary stuff. Now, of all the crew members that are out there, that when the cruise lines were operating at full capacity, last year in 2019, over 223,000 crew members were on cruise ships around the world. From the Philippines, over 80,000 of those came from the Philippines alone, over 12,700 from Indonesia, and tens of thousands, again, from all of these other countries like India, Malaysia, and Eastern European countries. The problem the cruise lines are facing, are probably going to face, is if they are hoping to start cruises in the latter part of this year, in the next 3 months or so, by November, December maybe, and into early next year, 2021, January, February, March, the issue that they're going to have to deal with is they're going to have to repatriate or gather up their crews from places like this, Manila in the Philippines. The problem is that if the virus numbers are out of control in Asia, the cruise lines will not be able to get their crews back without worrying about how healthy they are. I mean, this is an absolute nightmare. The first thought we've all had was, well, as long as the passengers don't have the virus, we should be good to go. Well, that might be true. Maybe North America and Europe can overcome this virus. But if the crews can't get over the virus, if you cannot get crew members from Asian countries and other countries onto your cruise ships healthy, you've got a problem. Because obviously if crew members have the virus below deck, it's only a matter of time when the passengers on the upper decks get the virus, and vice versa. I mean, one person on the ship gets the virus, it's a super spreader situation. So the cruise lines are for the first time, are actually now thinking, oh my God, we might be given the green light to sail in certain areas of the planet. But the problem might be for us, not necessarily to attract the customers, especially if we are allowing only 50% capacity or 60% capacity, let's just say the balcony rooms only. But if our crews can't be brought back to our ships, and we can't guarantee ourselves that our crews can be brought back without the virus, how are we going to restart business? And this is a major league issue that no one had really thought about. It certainly wasn't being discussed actively in reports out of Wall Street or out of trade papers with regard to travel agents around the world. This is an absolute nightmare. We need over 223,000 healthy crew members to be placed on cruise ships once this business is back up and running. How do we know that from the 40 or 50 different countries that they come from, that the health protocols in each of these countries is strong enough to, in effect, get these crews back to their ships in a healthy state? This is really, really something. Keep in mind, too, that we're talking about cruises that might start in, we've already seen it in out of Norway. That didn't work out. Crew members had the virus there. There were cruises out of Germany that were tried, and they had to delay the start of cruises out of Hamburg because crew members were arriving in Hamburg with the virus, even though they had been tested before they had left their home countries. Now we're trying to see cruises happen in the Mediterranean out of Italy with MSC and Costa. There are crew members on board a Costa ship in the harbor just outside of Rome, positive with the virus. They're being restricted to their cabins, obviously. If we want to see cruising happen in North America, how is this going to happen? If the United States itself has an outbreak that it can't control, and there is no national strategy in place to control the virus, foreigners won't come in. There's no way that crew members will be allowed to fly into Miami and go onto a cruise ship. The CDC won't hear of it. The employees will not even get their passports cleared to enter the country. In other words, they won't be able to get on the plane from wherever they're coming in from. South America, there are outbreaks there, and we haven't seen the worst of it yet. This is a pandemic that really is maybe underappreciated by a lot of people with regard to just how bad and widespread this really is. And this is the dilemma that cruise ships have never had to run into. The thinking had always been that, well, if there's a problem with a hurricane somewhere, we'll just move our ships. If there's a problem with with an illness somewhere, we'll just avoid that region of the globe and do our trade, ply our trade elsewhere. But when the virus is a global issue and not a local issue, now you've got not only problems above deck for passengers, but below deck for crew members. And this is something that I don't think any of us had ever thought could ever happen simultaneously globally. Absolutely an amazing situation. So with 80,000 minimum Philippine crew members stranded in the Philippines, all wishing they could work, they all need the money, 223,000 crew members ultimately needed to be brought back to their cruise ships, minus, of course, maybe 10,000 crew members because of the scrappage of ships and that type of thing. We have a problem. If the Philippines are going to record 3,600 cases of the virus every day going forward, and that number could rise. We could be talking about 1.5 million cases a year just out of the Philippines. That's what these kinds of numbers translate to. And with that kind of case count, positive, those kinds of positive numbers, there's no way Philippine crew members will be given any clearance to go anywhere by any country to catch any of their ships. Even if the Allure of the Seas that you see here was sent to the Philippines to pick up 3,000 crew members, the crew members would not be allowed to step on any landmass anywhere The only way that Royal Caribbean could utilize these crew members would be to literally transfer them from ship to ship to ship, just like they offloaded them back to the Philippines. Problem, of course, is as soon as the Royal Caribbean cruise ship wants to go to a home port to pick up passengers, they won't be allowed in, because if you've got nationals from a country that's considered a hot zone, you're not going to be allowed to allow people to get on and off the ship. It's a real dilemma. We're going to follow this and see where it leads us. In the meantime, thank you for joining me today. Thank you for subscribing to my channel, giving my videos thumbs ups, and I love your comments too. It's Bruce here with Traveling with Bruce saying thanks for watching my cruise news today for August the 29th, 2020, and we'll talk to you next time, everybody. Bye for now.